Welcome to Empowering Chats with Susan Burrell. This is where we have deep, intimate conversations about self-empowerment and future existence. I am an intuitive healer and a light leader who has been called to activate other light leaders. So I'm curious, are you one of them? So by listening, lean in and see if you are ready to be that eternal potential you've been called to be. Using your bravery, your talents, your tenacity, can you be innovative and adventurous in order to activate your light and lead from that place? This is where we learn how to love ourselves from the inside out and love the whole world over and over again. Enjoy the show. So you guys, you know me. When I am caught by titles or words, before I've met the individual, I already begin to have a sense of who they are as, as healers, because most of the people I get to talk to are healers on some level. But I'm always caught when the word alchemy is involved, because I really believe that we're living through a time that is bringing us into ancient wisdom of alchemy. So I want to welcome my current guest, Ofer Niv. Ofer, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Susan. It's a pleasure.
So I just have to say, I didn't say this before we started, but alchemy is one of the, I'm just going to own it, one of the ancient teachings from that I have access to from past lives. And so that's why I'm attracted to the alchemy. And then, okay, you guys, straight up, his website, Ofer's website is alchemyflame.com. So that's why. And I've been working with...
I have to, with your permission, to correct that, because I want them to get to the right URL. It's alchemical flame, one word, alchemicalflame.com.
Thank you. So when you guys go to his website, you're going to see a lot of golden light, And I teach how to work with that golden ray. And this is what we are calling in now, the individuals that I work with, because it is alchemical. So Ofer, I want you to share, first of all, your prior history, because there's an amazing healing that you underwent that I think a lot of people would be curious to hear about. And then let's get into the nuts and bolts of the work you do now.
Yeah, so that's my own transformation. I was born and raised in Israel and into a secular family, just very, very, I would say, on a farm, normal, kind of moving forward in a certain lane of, grow up, go to school, get a degree, do something with your life, be productive, kind of way. And then my wife and I, we moved to the U.S. and we stayed here in the U.S. for, I don't know how long. It's 40 years probably by now.
Oh, wow.
And so most of that time I was working for corporate America. I ended up doing a corporate management IT job for one of the biggest banks for many years, and I was full on with career track, and then I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and that completely changed the trajectory, because I was told, first it has this implication that life might be shorter.
Yeah.
And, it's not going to be as much fun as maybe it used to be. And it could deteriorate in all sorts of ways. And it was a lot of, I won't lie, a lot of fears associated with this. It felt very doom and gloom. Like I
Yes.
remember going on a trip with my wife, and every time I saw something that I liked, it was like, wow, this is the last time maybe I see it, and all sorts of thoughts like that. And I also have this rebel in me that says I can't just because somebody tells me you're going to manage, because
Right.
there is no solution, there is no ultimate healing. Um, there's this rebel that said, I gotta see what's available. And so I was not what I would call, into the spiritual way of looking at life. Although I think instinctually I'm probably spiritual, but I was just not aware of much. And so
Right.
I started listening to spiritual speakers and learn a lot. And I've been in all sorts of programs, so much that with the ways that I started to change my view on things, healing started to happen symptomatically for sure. I started the symptoms, all this tingling and kind of scary muscle effects started to go down and then disappeared. And uh, in 2020, I was no longer on medication, and it started all started in 2011. So in 2020, no more medication. Last year, my doctor said you don't need to have these annual MRIs anymore. So it's not a one-day journey, but I feel like great progress where I don't have to worry about where this is going, because I know I'm done with multiple sclerosis.
I so love that story, Ofer, because that's what I believe is that if we can get out of the doom and gloom and the fear, we can heal ourselves. There is no reason why we can't. And unfortunately, the medical community has to diagnose and then treat. And what they're treating is the top layer, the symptom, and not necessarily the underlying beliefs.
Yeah, exactly. They do what they can based on available knowledge. And there's so much knowledge that is out there that is not scientifically proven and therefore is not accessible to the medical community, that I hope this is changing slowly. Uh, but there is, that's what I discovered, that there is so much available that maybe the eye doesn't see, and maybe even our five senses are not necessarily immediately. It's I think it's Immanuel Kant that said, we only, our consciousness is only aware of what our senses can tell us. And so who knows what's really out there. That's the takeaway, and it's totally true, because what's out there is so much more than that. And in the process, I developed that I had all these senses that I was not aware of, because nobody talked about them. Nobody acknowledges any of this intuitive senses, but they're very real. And I include in one of our intuitive senses the imagination. Everybody has imagination,
Yes.
but the imagination can lead us into delusions for sure. And so there are these things that are not very helpful, but also into what's real, even if you can't touch it. And these are the other realities.
Yeah.
I mean, scientists have been talking for years about, the quantum realities and multiple universes, multi-universe and all that. And for me, this is very real when you use the imagination, because you tap into new realities, just to name it, because I love his esoteric. I love esoteric, and I do esoteric all the time. So you can tap into, the astral realm, for example, and this is a great source of possibilities for awarenesses, for consciousness, and also for healing. And And I divide the way I work in healing into realms. So I have 5 realms that I work with, and the magical realm is one of them. And that's the one where we go into different realms and dimensions, including the astral realm. And so we work there. And so I discovered that there are all these gifts that I had that maybe in the corporate world they were considered weaknesses. I think they were
Right.
actually considered weaknesses.
Right.
Like compassion is not always acknowledged as a strength in the corporate world because if you're giving, if you're giving, then you're taking maybe too much of a risk from a corporate perspective, and that becomes a weakness rather than a strength. And it's weird, but
It's counterintuitive, actually.
yeah,
Literally
yeah,
counterintuitive, because what I know to be true is it wasn't until probably the 1800s where we started to become more, the Industrial Revolution, and then medicine got scientific. And so everything started to shut down that intuitive awareness and ability to know yourself. But prior to that, ancient times, like Galileo was looking at the stars and figuring stuff out because he was tuned in and tapped in to higher realms. Like you talk about the astral realm. He knew all that stuff. He worked in those areas. Talk about imagination, right? And then we could talk about Da Vinci,
and we can talk about all the ancient doctors, what doctors, shamans would do.
exactly. And for whatever reason, it shifted. And hopefully it's going to shift back so that more people can have your experience without going through doom and gloom and fear.
I feel in many ways it already does.
Oh,
You know,
good.
I see very slow progression where people that I know from my ignorant life, I'll call them,
Okay.
are becoming more and more aware of these other alternate kind of realities, and are not afraid to mention that, yeah, I heard something about it. I'm aware. So even if they're not jumping in, I'll give you an example. I actually told you before we started that I met my brothers in Italy for a trip. So it was a wonderful get together because we haven't seen each other since before COVID hit. And they're very anchored in, the business world, and in what you see is what you get,
Right.
reality. And so in the last day, my youngest brother loves to summarize everything. And so he was asking, so what did you learn? Give me one thing that you learned from this trip. And I said, I learned that it's easy for me to now share with you what I do, and for you to actually say, yes, I hear you. Even if you don't, agree with this, even if you don't necessarily jump into it, you don't resist it. I feel like in past times there would be a lot of resistance, and I'm sure it's still there because, to give you an example, if it conflicts with strong religious beliefs that somebody grows up with, and it's either this, or it's a world of sin or whatever.
Or whatever.
Yeah, then I understand why it would be hard to accept. But I say just have a little opening here. You don't Just be curious. You don't have to agree, but be curious.
Be
And that's the
curious.
start.
Yes, I totally agree. I have that going on in my family. My brother doesn't, well, my brother and father don't understand anything that I do. And if I try to describe it, I see that whole little glossy eye thing go on, where they kind of go, they, whatever that is. I have to, I want to figure out what that is. I'm curious about it, so that veil doesn't constantly drop when I'm communicating with people.
Yeah, and then I have one brother that completely fascinated by it, like by healing with energy, because he never heard of it. And it's like, wow, really? And how does it work? And then the other two are like, yeah, okay, yeah, we get it, and we respect that, you understand, you like it, and we reserve the right to disagree. And interestingly, their wives are they already know about it, so it's like for them it's not a big deal.
Right. Of course. Of course. So, Ofer, let's talk about the five realms that you mentioned earlier. One of them is magical. Is that also mystical?
uh the magical is it is mystical, of course. It's not the one. I guess I have the divine. I have two other realms that I would associate it. I would associate more with mystical. So let me explain about the divine realm.
Okay.
The divine realm is a place where we go to when we want to understand what happens in other realities that might affect this reality. And so one of the places I like to go to is what I call the inner library. The inner library is a place where you can access basically all of humanity, and even non-human beings that are, I would say, are high-level divine beings that are simply share their knowledge with humanity. And so it's there. Anything that was taught, that was learned, that was experienced, especially when somebody died, you can say their book of life is written somewhere, and that's where this information becomes available, including our own book of life. And so we go there, and then if we're nice to the librarian and the librarian is nice to us, then we get to get cool access to learn new things about ourselves, and also to ask questions about whatever it is we need to know. Always come in humility. We're all students. We want to know more. We learn more. And we also, it's also a good access point to to other planes. So, for example, there is the place that is, and all this we also experience in the journeys that I do every other week that we can talk about. But I take people to different places just to give them an experience, and so the inner landscape is a place that is in the astral realm, that is a representation in the astral realm of the body. And so the physicality of the body would be represented by geography, by topology, by woods and caves and seas and rivers. And when something is blocked, there might be a running river that is blocked, and you can actually start changing that, as we talked about earlier, this imagined reality, because just because we use the imagination to get there does not make it a delusion. In fact, it is very real, in the sense that when you start to restore, clean, rearrange in ways that are helpful, things in the inner physical environment starts to sort themselves out as well.
Okay, I definitely want to find out more about that. So, is that part of what you did for your healing of MS?
This is this is actually because I'm eternal student. I know that I've been student in many lifetimes. This is something later, but what I've done for me, I'm sure that it included elements of that. Just because it so resonate. I know that when I go into the magical realm, it immediately resonates with me, because it is all about patterns, different patterns of manifestation, of healing, and destruction, because everything needs to be in balance. So, I mean, we learn all about this when we go into this realm, that anything that you want to create in your life, the moment because we are human. Nothing is eternal in the body, although our souls and spirit are eternal. The body is not, and so anything that we bring into our life has this pattern that of creation that when it creates, it has the seed of destruction, completion, whatever you want to call it, and that's the nature of things. And so why not look at these patterns, how they run in our life, see the ones that are not working the way, in a helpful way, and affect the change. And so we will learn how to work with patterns, how to work with time, because we can create time and then insert patterns into time, forward, backwards.
Right.
And so all these things are available in the magical realm. Why is it magical? Uh, because there's so much that is available from, not from the here and now reality that you see, but from the reality that you don't see, that exists on different planes and in different realms, that is always available. And in many ways, because I work closely with chakras, I especially learned with, I don't know if you're familiar with the name Cindy Dale.
Yes, we've talked. Cindy and I have talked.
Oh, that's very cool. And so I help her teach on the Shift Network, one of her classes, and I had many classes with her. And so I work with her chakra system with the 12 chakras, and I mean it's all mappable to one another, because the chakras are also, I believe, tapping into this magical realm. And so it's all working together. But that's the magical realm. It's going into a different reality. Why? To see what other factors are going on there. Sometimes I'll see beings, sometimes I'll see structures, and sometimes they have existence there and they have existence here in the body or in our own reality, that they may not look the same, but they're very much connected, and you change the one, you affect the other. That's the whole thing about the parallel universes. And so and so we work with one to affect the other. That's what we do.
Okay. Now, I love all this. I love that you're doing this work. I totally resonate with it. I get it. It makes so much sense to me. So I hope that those of you that are listening, if you're not understanding what Ofer's saying, you need to listen to this again, because this is where we're going. In fact, we're already there. So we might have to catch up with where we already are, become aware of where we already are, so that we can move forward as a humanity, as a oneness. So I just love this stuff. I love it. Okay, so what else? What other realms are you?
Yeah, so there is the realm of the heart, which which I love because it is a bit of the psychological realm, but it's not really psychological, because it taps into your soul level. And I think it's easier to understand it as psychological, because here's why. Because the heart realm is where we go when we want to work on limiting beliefs, which everybody, of course, has. And as we all know, limiting beliefs are the programming that controls us every day, when we don't even pay attention, because it sits in the unconscious and it just drives us nuts. And we have all these feelings and emotions that we don't know how to explain, but we don't love them because they're dragging us down. They're causing us to shut our heart down, so we're not open to receive. And there's all this stuff that is going on, and there is this range of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm not I'm not valuable, I'm bad, all that stuff. Isn't that amazing how an opinion can be so strong that we take it to be true?
Yes, it's amazing. And I like the way you phrase that. And there's a little part of me going, is he talking about me? Because I think we all have that stuff.
It's all of us.
Yeah.
And so this is where I come into the and there is a process for me, the alchemical flame process, that starts with just introducing ourselves to the alchemical flame, like right here, and then stepping through the flame into whatever realm we're going to go to. And let's say that we're going into the heart realm. And so in the heart realm, we will sometimes, I don't always know in advance exactly what will happen, but there's usually a guidance. Sometimes there'll be a mirror put in front of us and we can see the beliefs that are not working for us. And we can think of an issue that is affecting us and see what are the beliefs underneath it that we don't necessarily even are aware of. It's like suppressed and repressed feelings. We're not always aware of them.
Exactly.
So we see this and we use the alchemical flame to make a change. So we have a process to dissolve beliefs. Sometimes I will work with the chakra because the chakras spin in you can imagine the chakra spins in a normal direction. But when you spin them in the other direction, it's the spin of release. And so we can release things that are causing imbalance or that are causing us to just be blocked.
Nice.
So sometimes I see these limiting beliefs as structures that are hardened, that are anchored into the body, and they're so hard, they're like buildings that you need to rattle, that you need to create kind of enough friction that they will collapse under their own weight. And so, or we dissolve them. So there are all sorts of techniques to work with beliefs, but the bottom line is we know that beliefs, they're blocks, they're limiting, they're holding us back. And so we're working to change that. And feelings is, I mean, if you're holding feelings that are somebody else's feelings, I haven't even touched on that yet, but
I know. I
get
though. I totally know.
Yeah. There's all this, there's all this, and unfortunately it's the people that are close to us usually that's happened with, or influential, that you have these judgments that we take in and we make it our own.
Yeah.
And then when somebody says something that triggers us, it just opens up an old wound that is already inside of us. It's not something that just happened. It's something that triggered something that is already in us, inside of us. And if it's somebody else's stuff, it's not just coming out if we're not even know how to do it, if we're not aware of it. And so we're just like beliefs can block us. Emotions and feelings can block us because they're sitting in an unconscious place and we're not aware that they're there. It just feels yucky.
Yeah.
So we work on, if it's not yours, we get it out. We help you to get it out. If it is yours, it's a little different because then there is this, why are you holding on to it? And how do you let it go? And how do you feel into your feelings so that they can be let go?
And that's a scary thing for many people.
Yeah.
I'm working with someone right now, and that's what she's reminding me to do, to feel into my feelings. And it's interesting because sometimes when I attempt to do that, I don't even know what the feelings are, except that they're closing down chakras, and they're causing me to constrict my energy connection.
Yeah.
And it becomes, I mean, you can't. Okay, let me ask you this question, Ofer. Do you always need to know what the emotion is that needs to be released when you say feeling into your feelings? Or can you just feel into your feelings?
It's an interesting question. I would say it helps to know, but let me make a distinction here.
Okay.
You don't have to know the story that is behind the
Like
feeling.
that.
So there are all sorts of stories that will trigger the old feeling, and there is the story that started it. And you don't always need to replay the full on story that started, and sometimes it's a trauma level, and then it's harder to go into, the story. And so you don't need to know the story. You just need to get a little bit of taste of that enough so that so that the feeling that has been buried, how does it come to your consciousness so you become aware that there is a feeling? That's how. The stories help us to, once it's there, you don't need the story anymore.
Right.
So how do you connect to a feeling that you don't know is even there? So this is a little bit of a layering, but it's really fast. You just go into a feeling. So let's say that I feel, usually it's sort of a surface feeling. So I feel pissed off, or I feel impatient. It's like surface feelings, or I feel angry. I'm saying it's a surface feeling. What does it mean? It covers other feelings.
Right.
So you feel into that. Just feel into it. Stay with it. Feel into it. And then I'll ask you, so what do you feel when you are in impatience or in anger? And, you just see what else comes up. And maybe the next thing that'll come up is sadness. Where did this come from? But it will. And that's the one that perhaps we want to tackle. Or maybe there'll be even one underneath that. Maybe there is despair underneath it all. And so we'll try to go deeper, because that's the one that holds all the others in a way.
So it's kind of like it's a tether, right? It kind of is not necessarily corded, but it's like a tether to that old hidden feeling, right? And once you can get to that place, you can let go of all of it.
Yeah, and then because you can work each one separately, or you can try and go to the deepest one, which I see it again and again, help release the other one.
The other one
sitting
right
on top of it.
Right. It's, do you want to peel the onion, or you just want to get to the core root?
Right. Do you want to just be able to get on with your day, or do you want to know what's really going on and feel maybe more connected to your authentic, real inner being?
Exactly.
And then you just know how to be when all these triggers, because the triggers never stop coming in. They will come in, but maybe at some point, after working on clearing that stuff, clearing the healing of that stuff, it's not anymore the same level. So you can say, now I feel neutral about that thing that I discovered that is coming up, and, it's rattling me. Now, suddenly, when I tell myself the same story that, started it, now it feels like, I don't love it, but it's neutral. It's not big deal anymore. So,
well, and I think,
yeah,
I'm sorry, but I think that what's occurring is, sorry, we weren't going to go here, but I'm going to just tap on it. What's occurring right now in the United States is stuff that is triggering people's emotions and feelings, and they don't know why. And so that reaction that's just happening everywhere is hard to control. And when we can get to a place of neutrality, that's when things will, I believe, will open up enough so that we can see our way forward.
Oh, yeah. We are in this big, chaotic mess that is just steering us all in a soup of emotions, and we get to feel all of them at the same time.
All of them. And you mentioned earlier about in the magical patterns that there are the seeds of endings.
Yes.
Endings and beginnings, right? And so
and what's true for individuals is true for nations,
isn't it? And for the world, but it's also, the world already knows. I believe that the higher levels of humanity know, we know where we're going. We just have forgotten where we're going.
So true.
Right? To the higher realms, man.
You just reminded me that this is one of the things that we do in the heart realm, is remind us who we truly are. Because when we don't remember, it's so easy to give our power away, because we don't think we have any. And so we're giving it away by having that belief.
Right. And listening to others and all that.
Yeah. And when I help you connect with your higher levels, with your spirit, with these divine aspects of you that remind you that you're eternal, that in many ways you're powerful, that you can even receive a healing before you ask for it, because the nature of your reality, the true nature, is that there is no sequence of time, that everything is happening now and you can change the order of things.
Right.
I mean, it's really an important point that you start feeling empowered because you are this spirit in a body, and that spark of light of the divine is in you. So I'm not telling you you are the divine, but you are divine, and the divine has an aspect of it in you. So is everyone else, and we're all linked. And so we are in many ways all the same. And I believe when we recognize that, we start being able to feel into each other, to be able to resonate, to be able to have compassion, and to be able also to help each other.
Yes. And I totally agree with you. I just adore this work that you're doing, Ofer. I thank you for that, because now's the time and it's necessary. And in just tapping on the recognizing that that divine spark resides within each of us. And it's important to do a lot of the work that you have done and that you offer, because it's important to remove not only the blocks so you can have a happy life and blah, blah, but to remove those blocks that are blocking that divinity that you are, so that the divine can flow through you and express through you. And the more we shut down, the less expressed the infinite presence of source is. And we're only here to express that. Exactly.
And how it works, we get hurt because we don't know who we are or what we are. We get hurt, our heart gets shut down energetically. So we close down in all sorts of ways that do not allow us to continuously receive this divine grace that is always offered energetically to us. The divine grace is love that it's the primal energy of life force, the life force that keeps on coming in, is always around us, is in us. And when we don't know it, we feel lost. And when we're opening our heart, it just comes in. And not only that, then other people can also communicate better with us because our heart is not shut anymore. And so we're wondering, why can't we have a relationship? Because we're keeping our heart closed. That's why.
Right. And protected and blah, blah. And I would also add too, Ofer, that when we open that aspect, that divine aspect of ourselves that resides within our heart system, that it not only can we communicate with others, but then we can receive more. We can receive more love that is in the world, and we can give more love without having to know who we're giving that love to.
Yeah. And because there is fear sometimes associated with, I'll open up too wide and then I'll get all this stuff that hit me in the first place. I want to say that you do have these boundaries around you that I don't put a lot of emphasis on them, because I think knowing what you are is so much more important than, taking care of the shields all the time. Right. But you do have these boundaries around you. You can call them the auric fields around you, the auric layers that correspond to the chakras. And you can think of them as filters. They allow what is good for you to come in, and they filter out what's not necessary or what's going to be harmful. And so don't think that if you are opening your heart, you're going to be attacked. That's not how it works. If you know what you are, if you have this knowing that you're allowing love to come in, it doesn't mean you're allowing somebody else to come in. I want to make this distinction. Um, as Cindy Day likes to say, we register what's going on in somebody else. We don't bring them in. We don't pull somebody else's energy in. We don't need it. Why do it? We bring the information in, and that's okay because it's just information. But we leave somebody else's energy out because that's how all these entanglements happen. And then when we're open, then we're also able to release what's not ours, that that has already been in, that is kind of toxic to us. We don't need it.
And I think that's also part of what's going on right now in the world, is that all that there is openings that we're unaware of, and that toxicity is being released, but not in a
balanced way. That's for sure.
Not in a balanced way. I was going to say not in a responsible way, but that's a little too heavy. Not in a balanced way. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the concept of the balance, because when you talk about, again, these patterns of creation and destruction, we like to think that when everything feels fine, this is the Garden of Eden, where we don't need to do anything. Everything is just perfect. And yeah, while it might feel like this, what really happens is it's an equilibrium of powers and forces that are working from all directions at the same time, and one is not too strong to overwhelm the balance. And so this is a constant work of awareness, of creation and destruction, that we don't have to think about all the time when we bring the correct patterns into our life, and when we have this awareness that, yes, we can have this Garden of Eden reflection inside of us when we are in a good equilibrium. Yes. And when we are aware, when we have this awareness, when we don't think that we're just invincible, or that we have the right to, do whatever we want, either to our others or to ourselves. And instead, sometimes I hear resistance when I'm talking about balance, because people want to do whatever they want to do. And that's fine. Just know that everything has a price.
Well, and I see it as like a Mobius coil, or the infinity sign, where when you get the furthest edge out on that Mobius coil, it comes back to center, and then it goes out again. And so that's the equilibrium, right? And the center is the neutrality until you go back out again, and it's a never ending, hence infinity.
Exactly.
It's never ending, and that's part of what I think many humans believe. We're going to have to wrap up soon, but I just want to say, during COVID, so many people kept saying, "Oh, I just want everything to go back to normal." I'm like, there is no normal. There is no normal.
No, it's at every ending is a new beginning.
That's exactly right. Exactly. So Ofer, explain to everybody what your bi-weekly alchemic journeys are, so they can go to your website and subscribe.
Every other Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, we have these live events that you come in on a Zoom call, and you don't have to know anything. You don't have to do any work. I take you through a journey, and the journey will be into one of the 5 realms, typically, that we haven't even covered all of them. But it's going to be the heart realm, or the shadow realm, or the magical realm, or the tree of life realm, or the divine realm. And you go with me. It's always with emphasis on healing. So you bring an issue. Just think of an issue. And if you don't have any issue, that's great. Just come in and get whatever you get, because it's always going to be a good experience.
Right.
It's very gentle. And we start from the heart, from the chest, and we end here as well. But we go explore for 30 minutes. I leave some time for Q&A as well. And you don't have to do anything but show up. But to get that, you have to get my emails. Well, actually, you can get to the website. So I lied. You can get to the website. But if you just want to know what the topic of the week is, register to my email, and then you'll get the topic, so you know what it's gonna be.
What's coming
Do
up?
that. Just go to alchemicalflame.com. Hopefully you'll have it somewhere, and that will, you'll see it right there. You get a free gift, my ebook that explains the 5 realms, as well as you get to know what's coming with these journeys.
I love it. Ofer Niv, thank you so much for, again, I said it earlier, but thank you. Oh, I'm hearing. I want to thank you for your life experience and your willingness to transform and move through things that other people would stop at and say, okay, I'm diagnosed. That's it. That's the end of my life. Whatever. I just thank you for that. And then exploring and opening to that divine truth that you were at the very beginning of this lifetime, because it sounds like you remembered, and I'm so grateful that you did. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah.
And my pleasure.
Oh, no, it's been mine too. So thank you. So I'm just going to end with, and so it is, namaste. Well, that wraps up our empowering chat for the day. I hope you enjoyed it and found it inspired you to be more empowered. If you want to find out more about me, go to susanburrell.com, my website, and you can see what we're up to. I am teaching classes again, so there's a calendar of that, and you can register. You can check out my book, Live an Empowered Life, a 30-day journey with the companion inspiration cards, or you can access my guided meditations that go through Insight Timer. We got a bunch of stuff on the website. Check it out. And until then, namaste.